compass, she's got the cape. One holds the heart, one opens the gate. Stories of streamers, life behind the glow, mental health, hustle, and learning as we go. Two paths meet in a world we create. One keeps it grounded, one celebrates. This is the compass and the cape, where real meets raw. We laugh, we lift, we learn from the fall. From stream talk to soul talk, we won't fake. Come get real with the compass and the cape. It's okay to pause, to heal, to relate. It's time to tune into the compass and the cape.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Compass and the Cape, the show where creators, communities, and real stories collide. We're finally back after a little bit of a break, and as you can see, it's just Hero today. Calm is still busy. We are doing lots of literally moving right now from one house to another, so we're really busy with that. Some other personal stuff going on, but we are jumping right back. We don't want to lose any more time on the podcast, so we're going to make things happen as we can. When Calm's free, she'll jump in on episodes, and just know that we love you and we miss you, Calm, and we're ready for you to come back as soon as all the dust settles, and she will be. So let's move on about today's episode. So today's episode is a little different and incredibly important. One of the things we love the most about this space is how streaming brings people together, not just for games or for laughs, but for moments that matter. Moments where communities can change lives. So before we jump into the conversation today, I want to invite you to slow down with us, listen with an open heart and an open mind, and remember the power that we have when we stand together beside one another. Because today, we're shining a light on a family who is fighting with hope, resilience, and love at the center of it all. Today, we're joined by someone whose mission reaches far beyond gaming. Pelo is a dad, a husband, a streamer, and an advocate who's transformed his platform into a lifeline of awareness for his family. His daughter Izzy and his wife Jess are both waiting for living kidney donors. And through every stream, every conversation, and every connection, he's fighting to bring hope and visibility to their journey. So let's get into it. Pelo, thank you so much for being here. We're honored to have you and just to help amplify your story. So I'd love to get you introduced to the community. So tell me a little bit about who Pelo is beyond streaming, and then tell us about Izzy and Jess and what makes them who they are. Let's just get to know you and your family first.
It's going to be a loaded question, but yes. So, so the community does know me by Pelo, or I go by El Pelo Grande, but mostly everybody calls me Pelo. What my community, what we do here, as far as Kidney for Izzy, because that's what our channel name is we, play some games. We have fun. I have fun playing with my daughter, and her just being kind of crazy sometimes. I'm trying to think of like everything that I could say on this. It's just it's kind of it's a loaded question, but we do those things, but in the middle of all of that, we are advocating for both my wife and daughter, who are both needing kidney transplants. Mm-hmm. What really started all of this, because my daughter, she's been dealing with CKD, or chronic kidney disease, since she was born.
Okay.
And so, we really had to, as a family, come together and be absolutely educated about kidneys and what she was going through and all the ins and outs that comes with that. And so when it came to, about a little over a year ago, when Izzy needed another transplant because she had received her first one back when she was 6 years old, mm-hmm. We were talking with the hospital system that we work with. with for her transplant and her care, and they're they have a program called a champion program where it's a specific team that helps families advocate for trying to find a donor, whether it's a deceased donor or a living donor, and so that really kind of sparked like like myself, like the urgency to like find a donor. As some people may or may not know, there's only two ways, obviously, that you can receive a donor, which is going to be either through a deceased donor or through a living donor. And what really kind of got us on that is that my daughter's first transplant came from a deceased donor.
Okay.
But the thing is that with those donations, not that they're bad, because they're not, they're life-changing, obviously, but for kidneys, they do tend to only last between like 8 to 10 years. The kidney itself, like the donated kidney itself. And so for my daughter, that's right when her started to fail, right after about 8 years, like close to 9 years. And so now, as far as a living donor, like, so somebody that would obviously be alive and who's willing to gift one, those kidneys on average tend to last 15 to 25 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's a big quality of life difference on that between the two.
Right.
So we really did try to, in the beginning, I was trying to use other platforms with very, very minimal, like, responses. Like, I was just getting, like, nowhere.
Sure.
And so I had a buddy of mine, we were talking about it, and I'm like, man, like, I'm just not getting anywhere. Like people are seeing what I'm posting, but they're just like, oh, like, and then they keep going.
Yeah.
And in the meantime of doing all that, me and my daughter, we'd be playing games. It was just normal for me and her to just be playing games and just shooting the breeze, and that's just what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And and this is a buddy, the same buddy of mine that had we were talking about like how I did the podcast with.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, well, why don't you stream? I'm like, buddy, like, obviously in our situation, I don't have the money to be like the ultimate streamer and have LED stuff and have the like fancy microphone. He's like, you don't need that. He's like, just start somewheres and then just go from there.
Yeah. So
in the very beginning, I was actually streaming off straight from my Xbox only.
Okay.
Because apparently you can do that.
Yeah.
And we really just found a platform that, and the community that we've just gained over these months, that's just like, the response was just night and day between the other social media and streaming and actually just talking to people about this. So really, that's kind of in a nutshell about all of that.
Okay. So for those that don't know, right, some of the listeners may not be as familiar with kidney disease. Can you kind of give us a little bit of what exactly that is? How does it affect Izzy and Jess? So maybe some common misconceptions, things like that.
I mean, what I would say is, because a lot of people think that they're like, do they have, like, usually the number one question I get is like, are they like, did they get it from the same thing? Like, how did they both, need it? Because, and the thing is that it's two different reasons why they had both, suffered chronic kidney disease. Because honestly, when it comes to chronic kidney disease, it's that is very generalized, because there's multiple ways that you can, receive, like, you can be in that particular condition.
Mm-hmm.
So for my daughter, she was born with a genetic disorder called Vateral association, or Vader, in which, and if you break it down, that particular syndrome affects different portions of her body and her system. Thankfully or not, she only has the association and she doesn't have the full syndrome.
Good.
So for her, the particular things that she has specifically with her, her number one thing is obviously her kidneys. So when she was born, she was only born with one semi-working kidney, and that one working kidney was malformed, like it wasn't formed as a standard kidney.
Mm-hmm.
So it was malformed, and then it was rotated, so it was like not in the position that it would normally be. Then her other kidney, was polycystic, meaning like it was just masses of just flesh, just nothing. Like there was just no kidney there. It was just a mass of just like stuff. And so that kidney was just non-functional. And so she only had, technically one semi-working kidney as a baby.
Okay.
So as she grew up, that one just wasn't growing enough to keep up with her body. And so that's when she was 6 years old, she needed her first kidney transplant.
Gotcha.
With her association, she does actually, and we don't talk about it too much just because obviously we are talking mostly because of her kidneys, but because of her condition, she does have other issues as well. She has some bone issues, which is the other portion of the association. So, like one of her thumb doesn't have a knuckle. She has like severe scoliosis, and funny enough, when like the same day that we found out that she was going to be put on to dialysis was the same day that she was supposed to go into surgery for her scoliosis to straighten her up.
Oh, I see.
So, but because of her needing to be put on dialysis, everything got put on hold. Because obviously it would be too dangerous for her to recover, and she's already suffering from the chronic kidney disease. Now, for my wife, it's obviously it's quite a bit different. She had, she's been diabetic for quite a while, and for anybody that's has diabetes, you would know that diabetes affects every organ in your entire system, from your eyes to your liver to, just absolutely everything. And what ended up actually happening with her is that back when COVID was happening, she went to go get her second COVID shot. And if you remember, like some people were having some bit of reactions to like the COVID, shots at that point.
Yeah.
For her, she got her shot. She got her second shot one day, and then she was in the ICU with kidney failure the next.
Gosh.
And so for her at that point, her kidneys got pretty damaged, and she had to be immediately put onto dialysis. Thankfully, though, with the strength of my wife, she did have to be on dialysis for about a year, but she was actually able to come off of dialysis, and because she got herself healthy enough, so that she can come off of it and still be okay. It's been about 3 years or so since then, and she's been keeping up with her health. The thing is that once you injure your kidneys, there's no going back. There's no, like, if your kidneys are 100% and they get injured and let's say their functionality is 75%, you're at 75% and it's only going to be trickling down. So for the past 3 years, even considering that she's been keeping up with her health and, she's no longer on insulin, like she's been doing so well, the injury is trickling down. And then again, so we found out a few months ago that she needed to be put on the list and she needed a kidney as well.
Okay.
And that was already months after we had already started Kidney for Izzy.
Okay.
So I know it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lot. It's a lot for you guys, you know?
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing too, when we do the stream, is we try to keep things lighthearted, because like this subject, it is like, it's difficult to hear it.
Sure.
It's difficult to live it. But to try to talk to people about it, and like for them, if they don't know anybody like in that maybe particular situation or have experienced that particular situation, it's like it's a 10-pound weight being put onto their lap. And so that's why, I love doing like the streaming, is because, we can be lighthearted and have fun, and I'm playing with my daughter and all of that.
Yeah.
But we can also advocate and still like be, you know what I mean? So we can kind of trickle, like kind of tiptoe into those kind of things. And I think with the community that we have found and been around, they have really helped us out with that.
Yeah, I think you guys have found just a really supportive community, really, really awesome. Everybody seems to be
very unique.
What's that now?
It is. It's very unique.
Yeah.
It's very unique. I've even had the people at the hospital, again, that champion program, I've even had them tell me, because they help people, and they'll do, stuff for them for Facebook. Like they'll make them pictures with a little bit of like information, and they'll say, hey, post this, or you can try to post this. And they've never had anybody advocating like me.
Yeah.
At all. And they have no idea what to do with me. I mean, in a good way, obviously, but they're very intrigued about what I'm doing. And I'm like, it's got to get with the times. I guess that's just what it is. You got to go where the people are. And for me, and for who we are, like I've always been a big, a bit of a gamer. Mm-hmm. Like that's just where I'm at, And so, but yeah, we definitely have a wonderful community that we found.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that this is an urgent situation. So let's talk about like the urgency behind it, and then talk about how what the role the community has, and how we can support, and just the extra strength that gives you and your family and on your journey.
Okay. So when it comes to the urgency, I would say the urgency behind it, or I guess the reasoning behind it, is that you have to remember there are thousands of people that are needing kidney transplants. I mean, thousands. And that's just kidney transplants. That's not heart, liver, stem cell. Like that's not like anything else. I'm talking just kidneys alone.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, there's a shortage for donors and donations. And so when we talk about like for my daughter, she's been on dialysis for just over a year. She's been on dialysis since last October, not this October, but like this back a year ago. And the thing is that when it comes to like pediatrics, like kids like 18 and under, their time frame compared to adult time frame to receive a kidney is hugely different.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that unless we find a living donor, then we're waiting for a deceased donor. So not in a ugly way, but it's just the reality of it. For for a deceased donor, obviously for a deceased donor, somebody would have to be passing away.
Mm-hmm.
But that individual would have to be willing to be a deceased donor. So for, if you ever check, if you ever check your license, at least I know for here in Texas, but I'm certain it's everywhere else, you can see on there, like I have it on mine,
Yeah.
where it has donor. And that means like if something were to happen to me, I want to be a donor, like that's my statement right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're considering that how many thousands of people, or even in my local area, it still would be hundreds, if not thousands, that are waiting for a donor, you have to wait in line, so to speak.
Sure.
You pretty much have to put in you're considering you have to put in your time. And so when somebody passes away, they figure out, if they're a donor, great. And then they check everything. They check their blood type. They check all of their stuff. And then they start looking at the list. And whoever has been on the list longer will come up to that donor first. And so that's when they start going through the list. And if you're the right blood type, if you're the right, there's other criteria to it, and they start going down that list.
Gotcha.
But when you have individuals like my wife and my daughter, who at this moment are both not listed, they're not even on that list right now. And so at this point, we're just waiting. And so we're having to do certain things for my daughter to make sure, like the doctors, like they have to be certain in my daughter's situation, since this will be her second transplant, that she's going to be mentally and physically able to take care of herself and her next transplant.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for my wife, but for her, like she's having to go through all the doctor checks, and every doctor say yes, she's good for transplant on our side. I mean, you're talking like and this is for both of them. They're checking like their their physical abilities, their other like their heart, their blood pressures, like they're checking absolutely everything to make sure that they're physically ready. And then they're both going to psychiatry and making certain that they're mentally, because obviously for something like this, it is mentally difficult.
Sure, yeah.
And so they want to be sure that they're like headstrong enough to make sure that they're going to take care of themselves. And again, it's not in an ugly way, but you don't want to give somebody a donation if they're not going to be like, if they're like the next week, they're going to just go out and just start partying and start drinking and start doing things that aren't good for them.
Right.
And so now for pediatric kids, once they are listed, they can wait from a few months to a few years.
Okay.
And I say few years in general, just because like, I've seen some kids, depending on their compatibility with stuff, they can wait a couple of years, like 3 to 4, maybe 5 years, sometimes longer, but the average is very wide.
Mm-hmm.
But we've known people that once they got listed, it was almost like the next day.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll tell you this, for Izzy, her first transplant, once she got listed, she got her kidney a month later.
Wow. Okay.
So that's fast. But for adults make up the majority of individuals who need kidney transplants. And on average, for them to be waiting, and we're not talking about a living donor, we're just talking about just a deceased donor.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you find a living donor, like, boom, they're ready to go and that's it. But if they're just waiting to receive a deceased donor and being on that list, their average wait time is 10 years.
Oh my. Wow.
I have Izzy on the side here, and she's like, don't remind me. But think about it. If, like in my daughter's case, where she's doing dialysis and she has to go to the facility to do the dialysis treatment. She does that every week, 3 times a week for 4 to 5 hours. And afterwards, after the treatment, sometimes she's feeling good and sometimes she's feeling like a dirty rug that just got dragged outside.
Yeah.
And, you know, huh? When they had to put on their oxygen, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
And so, if you imagine being on the adult side and having to deal with that for 10 years, mentally, that can be extremely difficult.
Right.
And that's just saying, like, if everything goes well, because during those times there can be complications. I know for Izzy, when she was first on dialysis, and there was a lot of checking her blood pressures and checking her labs were just literally bouncing back and forth because her body's struggling with losing her function of her kidneys, and then trying for her body to get used to the dialysis machine. I know that sounds kind of weird, but you have to remember that the dialysis machine is doing what your kidney does naturally every single day. 24/7, it does it and you don't even know about it.
Yeah.
And the machine, because it's mechanical, it's doing that all in 4 hours. And so that's what I mean. And that's where it can be kind of hard, because the machine's it's just, like pumping and pumping and pumping. And if your body's not ready for that, that's where you, like, again, in my daughter's case, like, she's just exhausted.
Yeah.
And this is for anybody that's really that's on dialysis.
Right.
So, and that's where, like, my community has they've really risen up beyond any expectation that I've really had. Coming into streaming and trying to do all of this, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know that, like, I'd get help. I didn't know if the next follow is going to be the person that I need. I didn't know that the next, donation was going to help us here or there. And really, my community has just blown my mind on what they've done for us. Even from, like, the small ways to the big ways, to just advocating and somebody else following us, and somebody else having the conversation that we're trying to have with them. To some of my fellow streamers, I don't know if you ever saw this, and it was still very early for us when we started streaming, but I had a huge amount of other streamers surprise me with a humongous collab.
Oh,
I think there was. You remember?
Yeah, I remember this.
There was something like 12 streamers, all streaming at the same time, and all for us. And I was in shock. I was so grateful. Even, like, I talk about it now, and I'm still, like, I still get kind of choked up about it, because it was just so amazing. It was such a wonderful day. I think that day alone we got close to 110 followers.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
It was unheard of. But we had people that were just, like, we had people that came in and wanted to just support us, be there, support us, and just be a follower and just hang out with us. But what came out of that too is we found other people that either needed a voice because they were going through the same thing, but they never talk about it, or they received a kidney and they loved what we were doing. I've had people in my community where they needed a kidney transplant, and we would talk about things on my Discord. about them going through dialysis and how they felt and the medications that they're taking. And we're just having a conversation, but we're having a conversation in front of everybody so they can see kind of like how the day-to-day stuff is, and to see that there's other people other than like my own family that are struggling through this.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And one of them actually, it was so funny. I was in the middle of one of my streams, and the individual came onto my stream, and he's just spamming my stream, and I'm like, oh, but okay, buddy, like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, is everything okay? And he's like, go to the Discord, like, hey, like, go. And I'm like, okay. So in the middle of my stream, I go check, and he tells me, hey, I just got the call. I'm gonna go get a kidney.
Wow. Wow.
And I was like, and I'm in the middle of my stream. And it was such a wonderful thing to hear. Obviously, we are looking for kidneys, but to hear one of my community members and he had been on dialysis for years.
Wow.
I don't remember exactly how long, but he had been on for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to add me to his journey, and to just, I'm like, dude, you need to go get your kidney. And he stopped and to make certain that I knew, like, hey, I'm gonna go get my kidney, man. And
amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. And so those are the type of community like that we have, you know, and it's everybody in between all of that too.
Yeah.
So
we know that you're needing support. Also, I'm going to be sharing all of the links where we can send people to go and help support, and also like just learn more about how they can support, just from being a living donor to any of the other support that you need. So what is probably like the most thing that you feel like would be just super beneficial to you right now? Obviously, we're looking for living donors, and I love how you...
Obviously, that's good.
Yeah, I love how you, on your links, you even share where they can go to learn about how to be tested and stuff. So let's talk about some of that.
So that's definitely... So I have my Linktree, and that has all the platforms that we're on, and the different types of support that people can provide. Obviously, on the very top of that is the exact link for if anybody would like to be tested to become a living donor. You have to go through a very, very extensive questionnaire. I guess the good thing with it is that you're gonna probably find out some things that you may not have known about yourself or questioned for yourself. Because the thing is, to become a living donor, you have to be quite healthy, both for your sake and for who would be receiving it. Obviously, if you're not in the best of health, you don't want to have your kidney taken away, because that's just going to make things worse for you. On top of which, if you're suffering anything that you could transfer over, they don't want that either.
Right.
As an example, so like I mentioned before, for myself, I have it as that I'm a donor, but I can't donate to my girls, to my family. One, because I'm not their blood type. Which between my wife and my daughter is O negative and my wife is O positive, which makes things a little more complicated on that part.
Right.
Because you do have to be their blood type to donate to them specifically. But the big thing too is that I've suffered myself with kidney stuff, but I suffered with kidney stones, which I highly don't recommend. Just,
0 stars.
yeah, negative stars. I've had I won't get too much in that. I will say that I've had to pass 4, and 2 of them I had to have surgery.
Man.
So, hydrate. So, but on there you will go through the questionnaire of of all the it's a very long test. I'll say that. I've looked at the test, and I've always told anybody, if you have questions about the test, I will try my best to help you out with that as best as I can. If not, then I can point you to who can specifically answer those for you.
Mm-hmm.
But on there, but on my Linktree as well for support, because again, I don't expect every follower to say, "Hey, I want to try to donate." Some people can't, like myself, and some people just don't want to. It's free will, and I completely understand on how scary it is, and so there are other ways to support us. Again, I guess the very basic would be just to follow us and to follow our story and to just come along our journey. On there as well, we have like a throne list. We have a wish list for Izzy, because Izzy's this is her second time around. She doesn't qualify. It's gonna sound kind of weird, and it's nothing bad. She doesn't qualify for a Make-A-Wish because Make-A-Wish only does one thing, only one trip or one wish, which actually she got back when she was 6 years old. So, but that was a wonderful thing, and we absolutely were grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, I want to make her happy. I want to make her wishes try to come true. So there's an area there if you'd like to, donate for Izzy and make a wish for her. Like, she has a wish list on there.
Okay.
And we have some stuff on there. I think we have maybe I have one thing on there because I'd like a wish, and I'd like to get a PC. We're stuck on Xbox and Switch, and so we're kind of limited on the games. And me and Izzy love to play games, but we only have a handful of games
Sure.
to play. So but I have a PC for Izzy. I have a PC for myself, and it's just by donation to add to that. So there's that. We also have, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. We also have, if people would like to directly just donate to help us on our day-to-day stuff, we have a GoFundMe that goes directly just to our family to help us out. Obviously, having a family member that's, like my daughter, having to deal with all her medical stuff and all the driving, the doctors, the medications, everything in between that, financially, things can be quite difficult for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody would like to, help us directly that way, that's always a good way. I do always say that, because I also have my Twitch. Obviously, I have my Twitch handle on there as well. But I do typically say anything that we do make on Twitch, that goes directly to Izzy. We don't always have the means to do things that she wants to go do or get things that she wants or sometimes just needs. And so typically what we say is anything that we make on our Twitch, either through subs or bits, goes directly to her, and she's been loving that. She's like, "Hey, where's my Twitch money?" And so because she knows she can go and we'll go and we'll have a weekend. We'll go and her favorite thing to do is typically to go to this Japanese area, this Japanese store, and
Nice.
there's a restaurant next door, and she'll buy a couple of things, and then we'll go next door and get a treat there, or we'll go to what's the other place? I can't remember the other place's name, but it's where they sell Korean corn dogs.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Or hot
Yeah,
dogs?
yeah, yeah.
She loves
Yeah.
those. Oh my
Those
God.
are delicious. So good pick on her for that.
I mean, seriously. but that's a treat for her because, and here's again a little bit of education with it. One of the things that we have to follow for her is her phosphorus level.
Mm-hmm.
Phosphorus is a chemical that can be harmful if excessive in your bloodstream, and it can be hard on your veins and your heart.
Gotcha.
So something that has a lot of phosphorus are pretty much everything a kid likes to eat.
Yeah.
So you're talking milk products, cheese, pizza, any processed foods. So pretty much anything like frozen, anything that's battered, chocolate, what else? Beans. Yeah. So if you kind of think of something that a kid likes to eat, that probably has a lot of phosphorus, and because of her condition, she can't have a whole lot of that.
Right.
The Korean hot dogs being one of those, but because she's taking medication and if her levels are good, because we do set that as a goal for her, is like, hey, if your levels for your phosphorus are good, then we can have a treat, and that's what we go do.
Right.
So
that's awesome. So,
yeah,
some closing questions for us today. What keeps you going on the hard days is one of the questions.
Oh my God, I saw this question coming. I saw this question coming because it's not an easy one. Because I'll be honest, because people probably say, I always see it on TikTok and they're like, oh, streaming's so hard, or it's so easy, or that streaming, obviously for any individual, I mean, it takes effort. The more effort that you put into it, is the more energy that you have to put out. And obviously for somebody in my unique situation, having both, again, my wife and daughter who are both needing kidney transplants, who are both, they're both fatigued on a daily basis. They're, my daughter just turned 16 and she should be like running up and down the streets, and she can, there are days she can barely handle the walk going from her dialysis center to the parking lot. Or even going up the stairs. And on top of like my wife too, like she suffers from just absolute fatigue and pain and other stuff that she has to deal with. And I'm the only backup.
Yeah.
Our support system is kind of limited. And so I am their number one and their number two when it comes to doing things that they need to. And there are harder days than some. There are sometimes, I'm having to push myself beyond what I can even imagine. And there are times when like I have to sometimes I even question like can I stream? Can I put out that energy that me streaming deserves, to advocate, to be talkative? And there are some days where you just have to take a break.
Yeah.
And and sometimes those breaks don't come when you think that they're gonna come. Do you need a hug? I'm sorry. Izzy comes in, sometimes she needs a hug. Did you need a hug or did I need a hug? Okay.
Yes. The answer is yes.
That helps. That, my daughter and the respect and love obviously that I get from my family, they always tell me that I'm pushing myself too much, and I'm like, there's nobody else that's gonna do it. But really, as well, my community really helps me, just like re-energize myself. Like we all on a day-to-day basis, some of us wake up and our battery is full. Sometimes some people, we wake up and our battery is only 50%.
Yeah.
I have had times where my battery is screaming at me, hey, it's low and you need to recharge. And I don't have the time. But, you know, the community that I have built on my Discord and just talking with people, and it's not always just talking about, you know, like the kidney stuff. It's just being human.
Right.
And just talking and just being normal. If anybody on my Discord knows, like I jump on my Discord and chat. We talk about movies and we talk about music, and you know, I love like my music channel because I get to hear what other people are listening to, and I'm a big person on my music. Music on a day-to-day basis helps me just keep me going. I had put up my Spotify list of like your year-end Spotify list.
Yeah.
And all of mine, surprisingly, everyone, like I've had people that are like, I didn't expect that from you, and it was like all heavy metal. And I'm like, you know what? When I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day, and I need to go.
Yeah.
Whether my body wants to or not, I need to go. Like, that's what's gonna start. That's what's revving up my engine and getting me started.
Right.
So, but really, my community has you know, really done a wonderful job in supporting me, not just with the follows, not just with, you know, talking about like what's going on, but just me as an individual, just me as Pelo, as just a dad, just as me as a person. They have really, this past year, really just helped me like keep my energy up, keep positive about things, and I couldn't explain it more than that. I mean, they've really just helped me out in such a way that, again, I didn't expect and didn't think that I needed coming from this. Because, you know, if I wasn't streaming, I don't know what I'd be doing trying to advocate, let alone just doing the day-to-day stuff. But when I know I'm going to be streaming, or I know like I'm talking on people on Discord, it makes me so happy just to do those things and to be with the community that I have that are so positive and so wonderful.
All right. So Pelo, tell me about a really heartfelt moment that you've experienced in your streaming journey so far.
Okay. So, one that comes to mind here is mind you, we haven't even been streaming for a year now. It'll be a year, I think the last week of April, first week of May. It'll actually coincide with my birthday.
Okay.
When we hit affiliate.
Nice.
And so, but when we were just a few months into podcasting, and we were right along we were starting to get a little bit more steam, a little bit more push, and people were starting to notice. I had so happened to jump into Gypsy's stream, which we all know and absolutely love Gypsy, and
love her.
She's been on here on the podcast. Yep. Gypsy, I will say this: Gypsy is an absolute inspiration to me. I have looked at, you know, as a streamer, we look to other streamers and how they do things and see how things work, and like the energy that they're putting and what they're doing and stuff like that. And she has been an absolute inspiration for me on like the energy like to put out there.
She's wonderful. So
I'm almost always on her stream just hanging out. And she loves her spooky stuff, and so that's always fun. But on one of her streams, we had she was playing a game, and I don't remember what the game was, but as people were there and they were talking and chatting, and something that I do, you know, because they'll say, you know, like Gypsy or any of our streamers, like that's within like our circle. They'll be like, oh, like, hey, go check out this streamer. Like they're real cool and they do this and this. And and I love supporting other small streamers.
Yeah.
And and so I was like, oh yeah, let me jump. Like if Gypsy says they're cool, there's got to be something. So I had went and I had added this person, and then that was it. Like they had a small conversation, and that was it. And a couple of days later, I saw that person streaming, and I jumped on their stream, and she was playing Phasmophobia with some of her friends,
Mm-hmm.
and she was so funny, and her vibe with them was, it was like they were laughing and screaming at each other, and like just, it was such a great vibe that she had with her and her friends, and like instantly I was like, okay, cool, like this is this is another cool community, and I was just there. And so I think after like a handful of streams, like because I always come in, I would typically go into somebody's stream and I would say, hey, oh, like, hey, Len, like, and she said the same thing. And one day though, she was like, hey, like, I didn't know if you knew, but I have 3 kidneys. What are you talking about? and she started telling me like, hey, she's like, yeah, like I had a transplant, because by this point we had already talking about like what I was doing and advocating and about my daughter, and so she knew like what we were about, and so she was a kidney transplant, and so she started telling me about her story and what she went through. But as she was talking about it, some things started to kind of align, and I was like, hey, like, and like, oh, you got your transplant. She got her transplant back in 2020, and she was telling me about like her her dialysis and what she had to do and like where she had to go, and we started kind of like putting things together as like kind of a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And then in her stream she was like, hey, did you is Izzy going to such and such place for her dialysis? And I was like, yeah, like, how did you know?
Yeah.
It comes to find out that, and who I'm talking about is, if y'all ever see her on my stream now, her name is Pristress.
Okay.
I usually just call her Pris. It comes to find out that Pris and my daughter, when Pris was younger, because Pris she had to be started on dialysis back when she was about 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
And she both saw the same doctors and went to the same facility as my daughter.
Whoa.
So she knows the same doctors. She knows all the nurses. She knows like the building, like,
that's crazy.
Like the coincidences. And after that, I mean, this was during her stream, and she might get mad at me for about this. I think between the both of us, just realizing that we were that close to each other's journeys on things. I think at that moment we were both. I saw it from her. She can deny it all she wants. It's on fine. But we were pretty like emotional, like to the point of almost tears on how close we were to each other and the circumstances. Like, I mean, we're literally missing each other by like moments.
That's crazy.
And now, and so not even a few weeks later, we met up. She came into town, and we went out for lunch, and we had a long like wonderful conversations. She brought Izzy like a bag full of gifts and presents, and she just fell in love with Izzy.
Wow.
And now she's my number one mod, and we absolutely love her. We keep in contact like all the time now, but just the sheer coincidence of finding somebody that's not, I mean, not necessarily just the fact that they're close, but just the fact that she's been on the same journey that now my daughter's going through.
Yeah.
Because of her age, the doctors, the like everything. And for my daughter, for her to, like she has her friends, but to have somebody that she can talk to that's experienced exactly what she's gone through.
Exactly. Yeah. That literally
and not
gets it.
have to literally, like I don't have to tell you this portion of my story because you lived it, and we can just be here for each other.
Yeah.
Not to say that like any of her other friends like don't get her, but she has to explain that portion of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She has to explain her dialysis. She has to explain how she feels. But even explaining it, and even like when I explain it to people on my stream, like they don't know what the type of fatigue she feels. They don't know the type of like hurt that she's maybe feeling, or like just the emotions that she's maybe feeling like during her sessions, or
right.
If she's having to take her medicines and take medicines, but she doesn't have to do that with like Pris, or like like her friend. Like she has a friend at dialysis. But to find a person so close to our story, it was just
That's amazing.
it was this, and so she's my mod now, and oh my god, she has helped me with my stream because again, my time is so limited when it comes to stream, and I really wish I could put more time into like doing TikToks and doing just more stuff for it.
Yeah.
And I obviously just don't have the time. But she, like, her help with this, and she's so passionate about helping us too, which I love Pris. She's wonderful for us, and that was definitely just something wild and crazy that happened with us.
That's amazing, though. I mean, I always like when things like this happen and you realize that it's so much, it's not as big as you think out here, right? Like you can reach out and connect with people all over the world, but then you get things like this. So it's just a reminder of how close people actually are to each other.
We've connected with people. I've connected with people in Australia and the UK, in the Philippines, but to have somebody like so close, that it's that's experienced the same thing. It's just, what are the chances?
Yeah,
like really, what are the chances?
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. The last question we have for the day is, what message do you want your listeners to walk away with?
So you have some loaded questions, and I have like 20 answers popping out of my head. Man, you might have to edit this a little bit because I gotta think of.
Sure, yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
I mean, really. Hold on. What's up, Izzy? You okay? Hi, baby. You okay? Making your hot pocket? Okay. If I had to say, I guess just one thing, I guess, to come out of everything that we talked to, because again, I know what we've talked about today. There is a lot more to this story. Again, I could ramble on for hours probably. And my community definitely reminds me that I sometimes ramble. Sorry. But I think the last message, like the message that I'd like to, I guess, leave is, for people to just be willing to hear us out. Maybe not just me, but hear people out that are just struggling with things. I know my situation is pretty unique, and it is difficult and it is hard, and some people may think on how I can keep such a positive attitude towards these things. But if it wasn't for my community and the people that I have surrounded myself with to just be there, I don't know how easy it would be if I didn't have them to stay positive. So for people, not just uniquely in my situation, but anybody out there with, even if it's not medical and it's mental, if it's, somebody having a bad day, if it's like, just be understanding, be compassionate. And I think this world would be quite a bit better of a place if everybody was just a little bit more empathetic towards one another and see some perspective on other people's situation. Again, you can see, we talk about my situation here, but there are other people that are your neighbors, your friends, your family that have their own unique situations, and they may need you, and they may not probably even tell you. They say, "Hey, I need you." That's, so be kind and, be there, be present. So I guess that's the last message I would say, because I never tell for myself that, like, my situation is the worst case scenario. There are other people out there that are struggling with worse things or can feel worse than what I'm going through.
Yeah.
So be for them and be compassionate, and things will be a lot better.
Beautiful. I think that's the perfect message to leave the listeners. And
I hope so.
I know.
I hope so.
There was a short little series that I had started, because I think people forget that streaming, the person behind the camera is also a human too. And we're all going through a human experience at the same time. And sometimes it gets a little lost in translation. So I think that was the perfect reminder.
I don't care what level of streaming you are. I mean, you could be small streamer, you could be a beginner, you could be some of these streamers that have thousands and thousands of viewers and followers, and you've made it your life. That's great. But when that camera turns off, there's another story happening in the background that may not be presented out to everyone.
Yeah, the real story.
And so, right. Because that's what I mean. Like, on my streams, when I go and I raid out to somebody and I close my stream, there's a whole, there's so much more happening here than I could ever explain, even on a daily basis or whatever. And so what you're seeing on camera is but a snippet of who that person is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I would definitely agree.
Pelo, thank you so much for being here with us today and for trusting us with such a personal and vulnerable part of your life.
No, Hero, I have to just be absolutely grateful to you and allowing me to have another voice, another person that can carry on my voice to other people. And I really hope it reaches out to, other followers, maybe those individuals who'd be willing to, gift us those kidneys. And again, I know it's a lot that I'm asking for. Because streamers, I know, and I say this when I'm streaming, I know for streamers, it's hard enough to get a follow, and I'm asking for a gift. So
what a cool tagline, though. I'm just saying, like, what a crazy tagline, though.
Yeah.
I promise you that your strength and the strength of Jess and Izzy, it will 1,000% be something that stays with us long after this podcast ends. And it truly is, I feel like, just a reminder of what love and strength looks like in action.
I mean, if somebody comes into my stream and even questions about what I'm asking for, or even talks about it to another person without me knowing, obviously, then I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that's going to carry on.
Listening to Pelo share his family's story today is a reminder that behind every stream, every username, every moment online, there are real people, real families, and real battles we don't always see. What happened to Jess and Izzy could happen to anyone. And yet the strength, love, and hope in their journey is something that connects all of us. I think what I love the most about this podcast is that for us, when we say community, it isn't just some word. It's proof that when people come together like this through gaming, creativity, simple conversations, they can make a life-changing difference. And sometimes it's not the big heroic acts, but the small ones. Sharing a story, spreading information, checking in on someone who's struggling. And when it comes to kidney donation, awareness is everything. Sharing truly does save lives, because the right person hearing the right message at the right moment could be the match that changes this family's future. So as we wrap up this podcast today, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening with an open heart, and I want to remind you that your voice matters more than you know. And now this is where you come in. If you felt something today, if this story touched you, if you believe in the power of community, there are real, tangible ways that you can help. So let's go over them real quick. The first step is simple. Share this episode. Post it. Send it to a friend. Mention it in your streams, in conversation. Awareness is the bridge between a family waiting and a family getting the call they've been praying for. The second step is to learn. Take a moment to read about living kidney donations, what it actually means, who can qualify, and how incredibly impactful it can be. It's safer and more common than many people realize, and one donor can change an entire generation of a family's future. And then finally, connect. All of Pelo's links, including resources, donor information, and ways to support or amplify their mission, are in the show notes. Even if you're not able to donate, you can be a voice still. You can be an advocate. You can be the reason someone else learns how to save a life. This is what this community is for. This is what this podcast is about. This is what it means to show up for one another. To Jess, to Izzy, and to Pelo, we're standing with you. And to everyone listening, thank you for being a part of something that's so much bigger than all of us. Thank you all so much again. And let's turn awareness into action, and let's give this family the hope they deserve. See you in the next one.